Okay, hey everybody, welcome to episode 8 of our podcast, Innovating the Industrial World. I'm John King, I'm your host and CEO of Cross Company. I'm joined by Todd Barnette, who is our Director of Service Engineering. And we have a very, very special guest today, Mike Stark, who's with Trihedral, who that's the company that controls and puts out VTScada. We're here today to talk about industrial control software. So we've been doing some pretty interesting and innovative things in the industrial world or all around control software, and we're going to talk about SCADA systems and VTScada and some of the stuff that we've been doing there. So let's start off by talking a little bit about what is a SCADA system, so that our viewers can understand and tell us a little differences between the SCADA system and some other industrial control systems.
Sure, John. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be one of the first guests here on this podcast.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So it's great. So SCADA, the acronym is Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. And so what a SCADA system does in an automation system is actually control and monitor any kind of KPIs, any kind of information that a city or a plant or utility or anything like that has in their system. So it actually controls everything. It can bring all this information back to a workstation, and you can do a lot of cool things with that.
And so when we're in that world, Todd, we typically use VTScada to help solve some of those problems, right? So what makes VTScada unique in that world?
Well, I think it's unique in being that it's a one-stop application. So when we put it in an application, we're not having to do different licensing for different applications. It's one product that has the trends, it has the reports, it has the historian all involved, it has the recipe system. So when we put it in, it can be all tied together into one system, and then it's really user-friendly as far as the application. Once it's in, they get very much ownership of the product, and they're able to make modifications.
So it's a lot more simple. Sort of, let's keep it simple, stupid kind
Absolutely.
of a thing.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Simple
Easy.
means more reliable.
One download, that's it, really. Don't have any third-party software pieces, which helps run the system so much better. That helps with cost, helps with security, all kinds of stuff. There's tons of advantages about VTScada.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we've worked together to actually even develop the VTScada product, right? So let's talk a little bit about some of the applications that we've solved and some of the problems that we've helped our customers solve on industrial plant floor. So Todd, tell us a little bit about that app set.
We had a customer, we were introduced to VTScada in water wastewater.
Okay.
But, we saw the application and the usage it could be done in an industrial environment. So we really pushed to have this come into a new company, Ampeset, that we've been working with for years. And we saw this as an opportunity to replace the existing SCADA system they had there with VTScada. But in doing that, we also had to have a recipe module, which at the time wasn't exactly what we needed for that application. And when I contacted VTScada in Glenwood, the president, and they got back with me, we worked with VTScada to develop the recipe system. And once we tied that in, we worked together, put it in. It's worked great. It's been there. And by developing that, we actually went to the next level of getting it to the point of it's ready for the ERP system for that company, that once they implement their ERP, they can download recipes directly into their SCADA system. Back and forth.
So what you're telling me, so that is really, really innovative, because we run into places all the time where the ERP system has to talk to an MES system or like a whole nother software layer that then gets into their control system that then actually starts opening and closing gates and that kind of jazz. And you're saying the way that we help solve that in this kind of keep it simple, stupid sort of a way, which is really helpful, is now we can go from the ERP system directly to the control system.
Yes, even to the point of we pull in recipes, but we can also send reporting data back to the ERP system for production control, for downtime, that they can get real-time data on how much it costs for that product to come out per box.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've had plant managers and production engineers and that kind of thing saying, hey, I need to know what's going on the plant floor. Mm-hmm. And lots of people solve that problem, but this goes directly to the ERP system.
Yes. It's sitting there ready for the link to hook up. We'll develop that further as the ERP system's developed, but the hooks are there for it to be put back and forth.
So what was kind of the issue to begin with? You said we were replacing their existing SCADA. Is that just because it was old and outdated?
It was old and outdated, and the computers needed upgraded, and that was the other reason we went with VTScada. Is VTScada works very well with Microsoft and their security and security patches. We've even taken systems that's 8 years old, VTScada, and upgraded it to the latest version within a day on the upgrade, because what it works with and the footprint is very small, but the security patches work well with Microsoft to the point of if they do a security upgrade, it doesn't break the product. And we work with a lot of products that will break the SCADA system if you do a security patch.
Yeah, and Mike, I would imagine you're running into cybersecurity being a much bigger deal on the plant floor these days.
It's huge, absolutely. Yeah, so that's one of the things that we do. 95% of our applications are mission critical systems. So water and wastewater applications, industrially. Some of the kind of unusual systems that we run is Nav Canada, which is the Canadian version of the FAA. It's been using us for 26 years for flight operations.
Yeah, I would say that's mission critical.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, we do a lot in power and oil and gas. And so just to kind of go off of what Todd has mentioned, one of the things that's been great about working with you guys and integrators like yourself is this application is something that Todd really needed for Apposite. So he was able to convince our main systems architecture, and he's also the president of the company, Glenn, to go ahead and help develop that product, and that's been really cool. So yeah, it's great to have folks like yourself. Again, probably 50%, like I said, is water and wastewater, but you guys have been really instrumental in getting into systems that are, in industrial situations and kind of different ones that we typically have done. So it's been great.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about some of those other applications that we've helped solve.
We've put it in a lot of industrial applications now with different platforms. I mean, that's the other key product of this is there's tons of drivers in VTScada. We can talk to multiple things out there, whether it be Rockwell, Siemens, Armoron, whatever the PLC platform is, we can talk to it. And we tied it in to application and gave them more visibility in their heats, their controls, their rates. And they sent me an email out of the blue like 2 years later saying, hey, this application we put in with the visibility we have now, the production has went up, our downtimes went down, and we were able to be more efficient in what we're running. And the return that they've seen paid for the upgrade within 2 years. And now they're actually making money off of it. So a lot more efficiency and a lot more viewing in what they can see.
Yeah, because it's all about an ROI. I mean, that's a big chunk of what our goal is create tangible economic value for our customers, right? So if we can make sure that we do that. So, but in that case, if I'm an industrial engineer, let's say, and I've got this process and I've got my ERP system that needs to talk to this, tell me, how did we actually solve that? So, we talk about it being really simple. Tell us what do we need from the customer? What do we end up doing? And how do you mentioned getting it done in a day. So that's pretty quick. How do we go about doing that?
Well, we need to first understand the process and where they're looking at their key factors and what makes changes to the process. Is it the heat in the system that causes the product to go up or down, or is it the amount of percentages that they're feeding? And what is going on as far as, their set point to their actuals. Mm-hmm. And what we can do is we can create specific trends for them, or they can actually do them themselves once we show them how to do that. But they can get specific trends and reports to say, okay, this changed, when it changed, how the change was made, to maybe not have to get rid of so much production that may have went bad. So that's, instead of just going back and testing, and they can see the change that happened right away in their system and why it happened, if they have a clog, if they have heats too much, or a heater went out, and all that alarming is in there and comes back, and it gives them those information. So a lot of times even the system will report back to them quickly enough that they have less errors in their system because of the reporting function in it.
Oh, that's pretty cool. And you mentioned it's really versatile. So talk a little bit about some of the system. Okay, we can put this into you mentioned multiple platforms, even in the same plant. in terms of having a Siemens or Rockwell or whatever and different control systems in that plant?
Yeah, what Todd was mentioning is one of the unique features about VTScada is that any kind of drivers for the PLCs, we come with 110 drivers protocols, and there's no cost for that. So other platforms will ask for that. They'll ask extra money for those kind of drivers and stuff. So we can work with pretty much anything that's out there, and if it's important enough, we can actually write the driver. And an example for that is we're doing a huge North America rollout of VTScada to, and they have a proprietary PLC called a, and we're writing a driver for that. So they've never had a driver for that. They're pretty excited about it. And, we're excited about that too. So that's one of the things. There's a ton of features, unique features about VTScada. I don't want to get too salesman-ish on you, but one I do want to mention that is really, really important, and it's something that nobody else in the SCADA world has. It's called version control. And so the example of that is if you're running VTScada for a period of time, say somebody comes in and does something to the SCADA system, does some programming, and then after that, the SCADA system is messed up. It's not running correctly. With 2 clicks of a button, you can go back to a previous version, and now you're running perfectly. So from an industrial world, it means that you're never going to have any downtime. You can always go backwards. It's a disaster recovery capability, and nobody else in the industry has that in the SCADA world. Lots of other things like redundancy. We have the ability to have as many backup servers as you'd like. One of the applications that we run is the St. Lawrence Seaway blocks and things like that. And I think there's 28 servers in that system. Literally 27 servers could go down and the system would continue to run. What's also great about our servers is we have bidirectional communication, which means that typically we always have at least 2 servers. So you've got a primary and a secondary. If the primary goes down, secondary automatically takes over. And then so you don't lose any information. When the primary comes back up, the secondary will backfill all that information, so you never lose any information again, and there's nothing to be done for the operator. It's all done behind the scenes. So I think you've seen that as well, Todd, probably.
I think it's a really good point, because with the redundancy and the historical data is always there. Yeah. And the other key part of this that I haven't been able to do in some of the other applications is the historical files I don't have to keep on the servers. I can actually point that back to a mainframe system that all the historical data is pushed back there that may be being backed up at the site. So you could lose all your computers, but you wouldn't lose any of your data. And with it being multiple servers, the other key thing that VTScada has that I haven't seen in any of the other ones yet is I can make one change on one server, and instead of having to go in and do builds and changes to all the clients, once I make the change and I save it, it's everywhere. It's on all the clients, it's on all the servers, it's on all the applications. So for our customer, they like that because the engineering time just got saved multiple, because I made one change in 1 hour as opposed to 4 hours. Yeah. So that's a big,
and we're
big plus.
Yeah. Okay. And then they can make those changes anytime they need to.
If security, so it's very secure product, as they have to log in, and if I give them rights to make the changes as the customer, whoever they assign to have the rights, they can make those changes. If it's just operator level, they can't make the changes, but they can operate the system. But the other key component of this is there's events and alarming. So the events in the system is if an operator makes a change or anybody makes a change, it's logged as an event. So you know what change was made, when it was made, where it was made, and what was made. So that's always kept in there, and it's always in the historical files. So if an alarm level was changed, it shows it. If a set point was changed, it shows it.
So not only are we, one of the things that is kind of cool about some of the things that we come across is we're innovating for our customers, right? But in this case, we're kind of working together to innovate the actual software. So we, in the Apposite application we talked about, we worked with VTScada to actually add something to that particular software, right? Mm-hmm. How did we go about, did we write that code and then send it up to you guys? And how did we work together to get that done?
We actually developed the scope of what we needed because we had developed a recipe system for them that was a custom application years ago. And we said, well, this is what we needed to do. And here's how it's running now. Here's what we're doing. And here's what we need you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was back and forth. They would build part of it. We would test it. We tested it on the application, offsite, but we did all the tests and back and forth till we developed it to get exactly what we had before, but with just, newer application and working better, and to be able to work with ERP.
And write directly with the ERP system.
Yes.
So is that something that VTScada can do now?
Absolutely.
In terms of talking directly to the ERP systems?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something that is inherent in our system now, and we can go to that right to the ERP, MES. That's one of the things that we're actually talking to because as I started to talk about, they've been using the Georgetown, Kentucky plant has been using us for 23 years. So we're now rolling out VTScada to all 90 facilities in North America. So they are using it for building automation, so HVAC, power, water and wastewater, and things like that. But we're now actually looking at, they're using it in the paint booths. And so on the production side, we're hoping that that's going to happen. And one of the questions that they'd ask us about is how much we can do in the ERP world, in the MES world, and MOM, and all those types of things. That's something that we can do. We're not just an HMI system. We can do this whole system from bottom plant floor all the way to the top. So that's pretty cool. But I was going to also mention when we were talking about the historian, one of the other features about VTScada that's unique is our historian. It's proprietary, but it's easily able to be accessed through a SQL server, so you can get all that information for any kind of reports that you need. But the nice thing about it is, the unique thing about it is that it runs 5 times faster than any other historian, but it uses 1/5 of the data storage. So, for instance, with Georgetown plant, 23 years, I think they're up to 1.5 terabytes of storage, and some of those KPIs that they're looking at is like once a minute.
Wow. So
it's pretty amazing, and that's very unique in the industry.
So efficient and simple.
Incredibly efficient and simple. Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
So what you mentioned that you had a big part of the history of the company is in water and wastewater and that kind of thing. But we're in terms of tell us a little bit about where we're headed together in terms of the problems that we're solving and that kind of jazz.
Well, right now, what we're looking at is a lot more of analytics inside the product, and that's where they have some tools that's built in that's kind of geared to water, wastewater with pumps, pump drivers, and things like that. That the way it works is you can pull up a pump, but it's tied to the historian to tell you how many times it started, how many times it stopped, average run time or run time of the pump for maintenance reasons. And, in working with VTScada, they're starting to develop, instead of it being a pump tag, motor tags, which would be the next level to getting it more industrial style. But things like that, and that's really important. But they're very good about working with us and developing the tools we need to be in the industrial environment.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, again, a unique feature about Trihedral is that, we're a modest company. We have 45 programmers, and that's all we do is do programming. In fact, what's another unique thing about it is that every 2 weeks we put out a new version of VTScada. And the reason we do that is feature requests, maybe, some bugs, fixes, things like that. Doesn't mean you have to download it every time, but in comparison to some of the other folks that are there, you don't have to wait like a year to get all these new features and stuff. So just like Todd said, we're working together to do the batch and recipe system. At some point, we'll probably be stepping more into pharmaceutical, chemical, all those different, industrial applications and stuff. And again, as I mentioned, it's great to know that you guys are working with. It's one of the things that we also pride ourselves on when we find a great company like yourselves, a partner like yourselves. We try to, if we can, bring some opportunities. You guys are always bringing some opportunities to us, and I'm very happy about that.
We're solving some pretty cool problems together. I mean, if I'm an engineer and I need to make, and I've been sitting in engineering meetings and that kind of jazz, and I've got to get good data analytics, so I need a really robust historian. I need to make sure that we're protected in terms of cybersecurity, because that's becoming a bigger deal.
Huge.
Everybody hears all the stories about what's happening to people in the now industrial environments about cybersecurity and shutting people down from ransomware and all that kind of jazz. Now I've got a pretty simple way I can solve that, right? And still be able to talk to a whole, whether it's Siemens or Rockwell or, as you mentioned, Omron or whatever, and talk directly to my ERP system. Now I can solve that problem a lot easier than I used to could.
Well, that was the call I got yesterday, and we're fixing to work with a company that we've been working with for years, but they have separate skids that do certain things in their company, but they have no visibility to anything that's happening because they're individual HMIs, small PLCs, but they're all tied back to their main system just to see if it's running or not running. Mm-hmm. And they were like, but changes are happening, problems we're having, and we don't know what happened.
You can't make any decisions.
And I was like, well, all I have to do is just tie that back to your VTScada historian. I said, you could see if something was changed. And they're like, that's absolutely what we want. Can you get that tied in? I said, yeah, I can start working on that tomorrow. So.
And we can do it pretty quick.
Oh yeah, because I can go in remotely and tie their system, just pull the tags and put them in, and now I'm historizing them. They can look at their data.
That's awesome. So those are the kind of things that we're solving with VTScada.
Absolutely. Yeah. Another feature that you guys have used a lot, if a company is using another product, say Wonderware, Rockwell, iFix, whatever, we can take their tag database and then we'll convert it into VTScada for free, which is a savings for the company. It saves you guys time. So that's a nice way to start off the product integration on that. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like that with the alarming system in there that has an analytics in it. So when you go to alarms, it calls bad actors. It will actually tell you. You can click on it for the last 90 days, who alarmed the most, where it was at. That's very good for troubleshooting because an operator, sometimes they'll get maybe a nuisance alarm and they click okay, and it never kind of gets back to the engineering. I have something going bad. So they can go back and quickly look at bad actors for 90 days, and it'll tell them what's been alarming the most, where and when, and for preventative maintenance or to not have a major downtime, they can go ahead and look into that and fix it.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun when we start developing this together to use AI, take that historian and start talking to AI and make those predictive, being able to figure out what's going to happen instead of what already happened.
Predictive, all that kind of information that you're going to have. Yeah,
that's kind of where we're headed.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that concludes episode 8 of Innovating the Industrial World. If you like what you've heard, please click like, subscribe so you know when the next episode 9 is coming out. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or certainly put it down in the comment section. We'll respond to those things. Mike, Todd, thank you so much. This has been fantastic and really kind of cool.
Thanks, John.